what's your feeling been like with the current state of comics right now? What are you reading? What do you like?
I, I always hate that's like when somebody says, "What are your favorite movies?" And my brain goes, "I've never seen a movie."
Yeah.
I don't have the lists ready or things like that. I love the ones. I generally love things where people have a definite opinion and a definite style. Uh, and of course, I can't remember ever having read a comic. Oh, that's sad. I mostly, as I said,
do you
I
like more?
equally hate everything.
Okay.
You know,
I
but
was, I was
but
like, do you prefer independence? Do you prefer like a
I prefer
publisher?
some of everything.
Okay.
I love things like I love Jason Aaron's Thor. Um, had you told me that would be a sort of thing I love, I would have scoffed before that came along. Um, um, all sorts of things that are going to be blindingly obvious when I walk away from here, Omar, but I can't think of anything right now.
Yeah.
Comics. I love
Yeah.
comics. I love people doing things. I love it even when they're bad.
I do too, and sometimes I love rereading old comics and going back and trying to find what's new. It's hard because as you keep creating and keep going, you're like, I used to read that and it used to be
Oh.
that. Everyone has an ownership over what they had.
Now I can't remember the names involved because I cannot remember names anymore. I am like almost face blind and can't remember names. So I feel like I'm blind, dumb, and deaf walking through a convention because people walk by and sometimes I can place them, usually from their voice. Other times I'm like, I think I may have known you from somewhere, but you're either like someone I worked with for 10 years or you're my stalker. I don't know. But the graphic novel Jane, the modern retelling of the Jane Eyre story. Why I love comic books like that is because I can take that to my local library and have somebody read that who is not interested in the form. They have a beautiful one-off, but they also have a bridge to a piece of older literature that they might be studying, and they can suddenly go, oh, here's an adaptation, here's an opportunity, here's a reinvention that's
Absolutely.
just beautiful. I mean, the use of color in that book is amazing. But it's also just a story clearly inspired by its source, well done, beautifully modernized, and a beautiful bridge to anybody who's shy about reading a classic to maybe go and check that out after.
I think it's great as it's interesting because it's always about kind of bringing new people into comics. Like we're in like Japan or something, everyone is reading manga, and like here it's like one in every 100 people is reading a
We're
comic
getting
book.
closer
Yeah.
with all the media, with all the movies, with Raina Tegelmeier.
Yeah.
I'm probably butchering her last name, but God bless that woman.
Yeah.
Because that's an entire generation that's grown up
Reading
reading
her stuff.
comic books as
Yeah.
though it is a normal thing. And I think the people in the comic field don't always connect with the power and importance of that. They look at it and say, oh, girl-based memoir from Scholastic. That doesn't have anything to do with our Marvel superhero.
Yeah.
But it does.
But
It's setting up the mainstream readership so that there's so much available right now.
Yeah.
Even if I hadn't read everything or seen everything, I used to know everybody working in the comic industry.
Yeah.
I at least knew the names, at least knew the properties,
Yep.
and maybe hadn't gotten around to reading some. I can walk through a show this size and find 100 examples of things where I go, I didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to keep track of it all. And
There's so much coming out every single week, every day, every single day.
and the good stuff rises and gets passed around.
Yeah.
But what becomes your favorite is not always necessarily the stuff that's deemed good by everybody else.
Of course, no.
So,
Definitely. You're
so
allowed
it's
to.
nice that there's just interesting idiosyncratic stuff that can survive, can find a readership now,
Yeah.
and sustain. And the dark side to that, shall we say, or the balance to that, is every so often you get someone who, because they haven't made a comic, thinks you must stop and must buy it from them and must read it, and you go,
No.
sorry, if I
Yeah.
have no interest, I have no interest.
It's true.
Good for you, you
Yeah.
made a comic. I've made a few.
Yeah, exactly, right?